Love Without Chains, Breaking the Cycle of Toxic Relationships. Narrated by Jasmine Velasco. Introduction. The Illusion of Love. Love is a beautiful thing, but sometimes, what we call love is just a mirage, an illusion shaped by past experiences, societal expectations, and our deepest fears. We grow up watching fairy tales, reading love stories, and absorbing messages from music and movies that tell us love is all-consuming, chaotic, and sometimes even painful. But true love is not meant to shackle you. So why do so many of us stay in relationships that break us rather than build us? Why do we excuse red flags as passion or believe that suffering in love is just part of the journey? This audiobook is a deep exploration into the chains that hold us back from experiencing love in its purest form and the steps we can take to break free. Throughout this journey, we'll uncover the truth behind toxic love, explore the psychology of why we stay, and finally, step into the light of emotional freedom and healthy relationships. Love should uplift, not confine. If you've ever felt trapped in a relationship that drained you more than it fulfilled you, then this book is for you. Let's embark on this journey together, where love is no longer a prison but a sanctuary of trust, respect, and emotional fulfillment. Chapter 1. Recognizing the Chains. What is a toxic relationship? Love is meant to be a source of joy, growth, and comfort, but too often, people find themselves in relationships that bring more pain than peace. A toxic relationship does not necessarily start with visible harm. It often begins with seemingly small compromises, subtle emotional shifts, and unspoken sacrifices. Over time, these small fractures widen into a chasm, trapping people in cycles of emotional exhaustion and self-doubt. What defines a toxic relationship? A relationship is toxic when it leaves you feeling drained, anxious, or questioning your worth. Healthy love should bring security, trust, and mutual support, not confusion, fear, or manipulation. Toxic relationships can take many forms, and they are not limited to romantic partnerships. Friendships, family dynamics, and work relationships can also be toxic. Some common characteristics of toxic relationships include manipulation and control. A partner who uses guilt, blame, or fear to control your actions or emotions. Lack of respect. Repeated dismissiveness, insults, or belittling behavior. Emotional volatility. Frequent arguments, extreme highs and lows, or unpredictable reactions. Loss of identity. Feeling like you have to change who you are to keep the peace. Love, bombing, and withdrawal. Intense affection, followed by emotional distance or punishment. Recognizing the early signs. Toxic relationships often start with small but consistent red flags. Many people ignore these warning signs, hoping their partner will change or believing love means enduring hardships. However, being able to recognize the early signs can prevent prolonged suffering. Overdependency. Do you feel like your self-worth depends on their approval? Emotional uncertainty. Do you walk on eggshells, afraid of triggering a reaction? Lack of reciprocity. Are you the only one putting in effort to maintain the relationship? Subtle criticism. Do they undermine your confidence with jokes or passive-aggressive remarks? Why do we ignore the red flags? Recognizing a toxic relationship is one thing, acting on it is another. Many people rationalize red flags because of deep-seated fears, social conditioning, or past experiences. Here are a few reasons people overlook warning signs. Fear of being alone. Society places immense pressure on being in a relationship, making many believe that even a toxic one is better than being single. Hope for change. We convince ourselves that if we love hard enough, the person will transform. The cycle of reward and punishment. Moments of kindness make the suffering seem worth it, creating an addiction to emotional highs. Low self-worth. When we do not value ourselves, we tolerate mistreatment, believing it's the best we can get. Case study: Sarah's story. Sarah met Jake at a time when she was feeling vulnerable. He was charming, attentive, and made her feel like she was the center of his world. But soon, he started subtly controlling her choices, criticizing her friends, questioning her decisions, and making her feel guilty for prioritizing her career. Every time she tried to pull away, he would shower her with affection and apologies, convincing her to stay. Over time, Sarah became emotionally exhausted, constantly trying to prove her worth. It wasn't until she spoke with a therapist that she realized she had lost herself in the relationship. Sarah's story is common. Many people do not realize they are in toxic relationships until they are deeply entangled in them. Understanding the emotional and psychological chains that bind us is the first step in breaking free. Breaking the chains. Taking the first steps. If you recognize yourself in these patterns, it is not too late to reclaim your power. Here are some steps to help you detach from a toxic relationship. Acknowledge the reality. Stop justifying or minimizing the toxic behaviors. Set boundaries. Start small. Limit contact and do not engage in manipulation games. Seek support. Talk to trusted friends, family, or a therapist. Prioritize self-worth. Engage in activities that rebuild your confidence and independence. Make a plan. Whether you decide to leave or need emotional detachment, create a strategy that prioritizes your well-being. Self-reflection. Exercise. Take a moment to write down: what are the 3 most painful moments in your relationship? What are the 3 happiest moments? Do the painful moments outweigh the joy? If your best friend were in this relationship, what advice would you give them? Writing this down can bring clarity and help you make a decision that prioritizes your emotional well-being. Final thoughts. Recognizing a toxic relationship is the first step toward breaking free. Love should not be a battlefield, nor should it feel like a burden you have to carry alone. If you are in a relationship that drains your spirit rather than nurtures it, you deserve more. This journey is not about blaming yourself for the past, it's about empowering yourself for the future. The path to freedom begins with awareness and the courage to choose yourself. In the next chapter, we will explore why so many of us stay in toxic relationships despite the pain they cause, and how we can rewire our thinking to break the cycle for good. Chapter 2. The Psychology of Staying. Why we cling to toxicity. The psychology of staying. Why we cling to toxicity. Love, even when toxic, can have an incredibly strong hold over us. Many people stay in harmful relationships, knowing deep down that they should leave but feeling powerless to do so. The question is, why? Why do we cling to relationships that diminish us rather than nurture us? Understanding why we stay in toxic relationships requires an exploration of human psychology. Several key psychological factors contribute to this cycle, including trauma bonding, fear-based decision-making, and social conditioning. In this chapter, we will break down these elements and provide real-life examples to help you gain clarity on your own experiences. Trauma bonding. When pain feels like love. One of the most powerful psychological forces that keep people stuck in toxic relationships is trauma bonding. Trauma bonding occurs when someone experiences repeated cycles of abuse followed by acts of kindness. These unpredictable highs and lows create an emotional dependency, reinforcing the belief that leaving would mean giving up on moments of love and care. Think of it as an emotional roller coaster. When someone treats you poorly and then suddenly showers you with love and apologies, your brain releases a surge of dopamine, the same chemical that fuels addiction. Over time, this cycle becomes deeply ingrained, making it difficult to break free. Case study: Maria's story. Maria was in a relationship with someone who frequently belittled her. Every time she thought about leaving, he would do something incredibly thoughtful. Like writing her a love letter or making a grand romantic gesture, she convinced herself that his love was real because he could be so affectionate at times. But in reality, she was trapped in a trauma bond, addicted to the temporary highs that masked the long-term emotional damage. Breaking the cycle. Keep a journal of your relationship's ups and downs. Look for patterns. Recognize that apologies without changed behavior are meaningless. Seek outside perspectives from friends, family, or a therapist. The fear of being alone. Many people stay in toxic relationships because they are terrified of being alone. Society has conditioned us to believe that being in a relationship is a marker of success, while being single is seen as a failure. This fear leads people to cling to relationships that are hurting them, simply because they are afraid of facing life on their own. Questions to ask yourself: am I staying because I love this person, or because I'm afraid of loneliness? What parts of myself have I sacrificed in order to keep this relationship? If I knew I would never be alone, would I still stay? Intermittent reinforcement. The gambling effect. Toxic relationships often function like a slot machine. You never know when the next reward is coming. This phenomenon is known as intermittent reinforcement, and it is one of the reasons why people get stuck in unhealthy cycles. If someone treats you well 10% of the time and badly the other 90%, your brain clings to the 10%, hoping that things will improve. Just like a gambler who keeps pulling the lever, waiting for a win, people in toxic relationships keep holding on, hoping their partner will change. Breaking the cycle. Track the reality of the relationship. How often are you actually happy? Set a standard for what you will and won't tolerate. Remind yourself that love should be consistent, not conditional. The sunk cost fallacy. Why we struggle to walk away. The sunk cost fallacy is a psychological trap that makes people feel like they have to stay in a bad situation because they've already invested so much time, energy, and emotion into it. The thought of leaving feels like throwing it all away. But here's the truth: staying only deepens the loss. Just because you've spent years in a toxic relationship doesn't mean you should spend more. Mindset shift. Ask yourself, would I enter this relationship today, knowing what I know now? Think of the future. How will I feel 5 years from now if I stay? Fear-based decision-making. When fear overrides logic. Fear is one of the biggest barriers to leaving toxic relationships. Some of the most common fears include fear of regret. What if I leave and never find someone else? Fear of retaliation. What if they make my life miserable? Fear of the unknown. I don't know how to live without them. But fear is not a reason to stay. Growth happens when we push past fear and step into self-trust. Overcoming fear-based thinking. Challenge your thoughts. Is this fear real, or is it just my mind keeping me stuck? Visualize a life without toxicity. What would freedom feel like? Seek support. You don't have to do this alone. Talk to someone who can guide you. Social conditioning. The myths that keep us stuck. We grow up hearing messages like, love is about sacrifice. Every relationship has problems. It's better to have someone than no one. These beliefs can be damaging. While all relationships require effort, healthy love does not require suffering. Exercise. Rewriting your love story. Write down the messages you learned about love growing up. Then, rewrite them into healthier, empowering beliefs. Love should never make me question my worth. A relationship should feel safe, not like a battle. I deserve a love that nurtures me. Case study. Emily's story. Emily was in a 6-year relationship with someone who was emotionally distant and dismissive. Every time she considered leaving, he would do just enough to pull her back in. She feared being alone and wondered if she would ever find someone else. When she finally left, she realized how much of herself she had lost in the relationship. Over time, she rebuilt her confidence and found peace in solitude before entering a truly loving relationship. Final thoughts. Choosing freedom over fear. Understanding why we stay in toxic relationships is the first step in breaking free. By recognizing the psychological, emotional, and social forces at play, we empower ourselves to make healthier choices. Leaving is not easy, but staying in toxicity only prolongs the pain. The path to healing begins with one courageous step toward freedom. In the next chapter, we will explore how to heal from the wounds of toxic relationships and rebuild your sense of self. Chapter 3. Healing the wounds, rebuilding after toxic love. The pain of a toxic relationship does not end when the relationship does. The wounds left behind, emotional, mental, and sometimes even physical, can take years to heal. Breaking free is just the first step. True healing requires deep self-reflection, self-care, and a commitment to rediscovering your identity outside of the relationship. In this chapter, we will explore a comprehensive roadmap for healing, including step-by-step exercises, self-care techniques, emotional detox strategies, and guided self-reflection prompts designed to help you move forward with strength and clarity. Understanding the emotional damage. When you leave a toxic relationship, you are not just leaving a person. You are leaving a dynamic that may have shaped how you see yourself and the world. Some of the emotional wounds commonly experienced include loss of identity. You may feel like you don't know who you are without the relationship. Self-doubt and low self-esteem. Toxic relationships can make you question your worth and value. Trust issues. After being manipulated or betrayed, trusting new people can feel impossible. Emotional triggers. Small things may bring back painful memories, making healing feel overwhelming. Healing begins when you acknowledge that these wounds exist and commit to working through them instead of suppressing them. Step 1. Emotional detox. Breaking free from the past. Just as the body needs to detox from harmful substances, your mind and heart need to detox from emotional toxicity. This means purging thoughts, habits, and even people who continue to bring negativity into your life. Practical exercises. Write a goodbye letter, but don't send it. Write a letter to your ex, or the toxic relationship itself, expressing all the emotions you have been holding inside. Let it all out. Then, destroy the letter as a symbolic act of letting go. Create a no-contact plan. Set boundaries to ensure that you do not re-engage with the person who caused you pain. Unfollow them, block their number if necessary, and avoid mutual spaces where you might run into them. Declutter your space. Remove items that remind you of the relationship. Old gifts, pictures, and messages can anchor you to the past. Clearing them out creates space for new, positive energy. Step 2. Rebuilding self-worth and confidence. A toxic relationship often leaves you feeling unworthy of love and happiness. The key to healing is rediscovering your own value, independent of anyone else. Self-worth. Affirmations. Repeat these affirmations daily. I am enough, just as I am. I deserve love that lifts me up, not tears me down. My past does not define my future. I am worthy of respect, kindness, and peace. Practical exercises. Self-love. Journal. Each night, write down 3 things you love about yourself. Mirror exercise. Look at yourself in the mirror and say something kind to yourself every morning. Set small goals. Accomplishing small personal goals helps rebuild confidence. Start with easy wins, such as exercising, learning a new skill, or finishing a book. Step 3. Processing and releasing. Painful emotions. Suppressing emotions only delays healing. The key is to process them in a healthy way. Healthy ways to process emotions. Therapy or support groups. Speaking with a professional or people who have been through similar experiences can provide guidance and validation. Meditation and mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness helps you stay present instead of dwelling on past pain. Physical activity. Exercise releases endorphins that boost mood and help release stress. Journaling prompts to release pain. What are the biggest lessons I've learned from this experience? What do I wish I had known before entering that relationship? How do I want to feel 6 months from now, and what can I do today to work toward that? Step 4. Learning to trust again. After a toxic relationship, it can feel impossible to trust others. But true healing involves not only protecting yourself, but also allowing yourself to be open to genuine connections in the future. Building trust. Slowly. Start by trusting yourself, your instincts, your decisions, and your boundaries. Surround yourself with people who uplift you rather than drain you. Be patient. Trust takes time, and it's okay to take things slowly. Step 5. Reclaiming your joy and independence. One of the most beautiful parts of healing is rediscovering what makes you happy, without relying on someone else for that happiness. Ways to rediscover yourself. Explore new interests, try new hobbies, travel, or engage in activities you never got to experience in your past relationship. Reconnect with old passions. Did you stop doing something you loved because of your relationship? Bring it back into your life. Build a vision for your future. Where do you want to be in a year? 5 years. Start setting goals for yourself that don't revolve around anyone else. Case study. Ava's journey to healing. Final thoughts. The power of rebirth after toxic love. Healing is not a straight path, it is a journey with ups and downs. There will be days when you miss the person who hurt you, and that's okay. Healing does not mean forgetting. It means learning to move forward without letting the past dictate your future. As you continue this journey, remind yourself that you are not broken, you are rebuilding. In the next chapter, we will explore what it means to cultivate healthy, fulfilling love, and how to build relationships that enhance, rather than diminish, your life. Chapter 4. The Art of True Love. Building Healthy Connections. Love is often portrayed as an overwhelming force of passion and emotion, but at its core, true love is built on trust, respect, and a deep understanding of one another. After escaping toxic relationships, it is crucial to reframe our understanding of love and develop the emotional intelligence needed to build and sustain healthy connections. This chapter will guide you through the fundamental principles of true love, exploring how to recognize it, nurture it, and maintain it. We will delve into the science of love, communication strategies, the importance of boundaries, and practical exercises to help you cultivate meaningful relationships that enhance your well-being rather than diminish it. The foundation of true love. Many people mistake love for intensity, grand romantic gestures, fiery passion, and obsessive attention. But true love is not just about excitement, it is about stability, trust, and consistency. To build a healthy relationship, both partners must share the following core values: mutual respect, valuing each other's individuality, thoughts, and emotions; trust, feeling safe and secure in the relationship; emotional availability, being open and honest about feelings and vulnerabilities; effective communication, expressing needs and concerns in a healthy way; personal growth, supporting each other's journey to becoming the best versions of themselves. Recognizing healthy love versus toxic love. Toxic relationships often create confusion between love and emotional dependency. Below is a comparison of how true love differs from toxicity. Aspect: communication, conflict resolution, trusty independence, emotional safety. Healthy love. 1. Open, honest, and respectful. 2. Discussions lead to growth. 3. Secure in each other's commitment. 4. Both partners have lives outside of the relationship. Toxic love. 1. Manipulative, dismissive, or avoidant. 2. Fights result in fear, blame, or silence. 3. Constant jealousy or insecurity. 4. One or both partners feel trapped or isolated. Einde, walking on eggshells, fearing reactions. Recognizing these differences can help you assess your relationships and make healthier choices moving forward. Developing emotional intelligence in relationships. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is the ability to understand, manage, and express emotions effectively. Studies show that EQ is a stronger predictor of relationship success than physical attraction or shared interests. The key components of emotional intelligence in relationships are self-awareness, understanding your own emotions and triggers; self-regulation, managing your emotions in a way that promotes harmony; empathy, being able to recognize and validate your partner's feelings; social skills, navigating conflicts, setting boundaries, and expressing needs effectively. Practical exercise, emotional check-in. Each night, ask yourself, what emotions did I experience today in my relationship? Did I communicate effectively with my partner? Did I respond to conflict with understanding or defensiveness? This practice can help you develop self-awareness and improve your emotional responses. Building strong communication skills. Poor communication is one of the top reasons relationships fail. However, effective communication is a skill that can be learned and strengthened. Here are key communication strategies for building a healthy relationship. 1. Active listening. Focus entirely on your partner when they are speaking. Avoid interrupting or formulating a response before they finish. Repeat back what they said to ensure understanding. 2. Using I statements instead of you statements. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," say, "I feel unheard when I express my thoughts." 3. Expressing needs clearly. Many people assume their partner should just know what they want. Instead, clearly state your needs. I feel loved when you check in with me during the day. I need some alone time to recharge. 4th, conflict resolution techniques. Avoid the blame game, stick to discussing actions, not character. Use a timeout strategy. If emotions run high, take a break and return to the conversation when both partners are calm. Find a middle ground. Healthy relationships require compromise without resentment. The role of boundaries in healthy love. Setting and respecting boundaries is a sign of a mature, healthy relationship. Boundaries define what is acceptable and what isn't in your relationship. Without clear boundaries, resentment and misunderstandings can fester. Types of boundaries. Emotional boundaries. I need you to respect my feelings, even when you don't agree. Time boundaries. I need alone time to recharge, even though I love spending time with you. Physical boundaries. I am not comfortable with certain forms of affection in public. Digital boundaries. I prefer to keep some aspects of my social media private. Practical exercise. Creating your relationship boundaries. Sit down with your partner and discuss. What boundaries do we need to maintain individuality? What makes each of us feel respected? How do we communicate when a boundary has been crossed? Cultivating love that grows over time. True love deepens over time when both partners are committed to nurturing it. Here are some ways to keep the connection strong. Practice gratitude. Express appreciation daily for small acts of kindness. Keep learning about each other. People change over time. Stay curious about your partner's evolving dreams, fears, and interests. Prioritize quality time. Make intentional efforts to spend meaningful time together, free from distractions. Celebrate each other's growth. Encourage each other's personal goals and celebrate successes. Stay playful. Laughter and fun are essential for long-term connection. Case study. David and Elena's journey to true love. David and Elena had both experienced toxic relationships in the past. When they met, they were determined to build something different. They focused on open communication, emotional support, and mutual respect. Instead of rushing into deep emotional entanglements, they took time to understand each other's values, boundaries, and personal healing journeys. Over time, their relationship became a source of strength rather than stress. By prioritizing emotional intelligence and healthy communication, They built a love based on true partnership, rather than dependency. Final thoughts. Choosing love that lifts you up. True love is not about losing yourself in another person. It's about finding a connection that enhances your life. It's a partnership where both individuals feel seen, respected, and empowered to grow. Building healthy love is a process that requires effort, patience, and self-awareness. By practicing emotional intelligence, setting boundaries, and prioritizing healthy communication, you create a foundation for love that withstands the test of time. In the next chapter, we will explore the importance of self-love and how learning to love yourself first is the key to creating lasting, fulfilling relationships. Chapter 5. Learning to love yourself first. Before we can build healthy relationships with others, we must first cultivate a loving, accepting, and nurturing relationship with ourselves. Many people look to romantic partners to fill emotional voids, heal past wounds, or provide validation, but true fulfillment comes from within. Learning to love yourself is not just about self-care. It's about self-acceptance, self-respect, and personal growth. In this chapter, we will explore practical steps to develop self-worth, engage in meaningful self-care, and embrace independence. We will also cover journaling exercises, affirmations, and self-reflection prompts to help you build confidence and redefine what love means to you. Why self-love is essential. Self-love is the foundation of all healthy relationships. Without it, we may settle for less than we deserve, tolerate mistreatment, or struggle to form genuine connections. The benefits of self-love include higher self-worth. You recognize your value and refuse to accept less than you deserve. Stronger boundaries. You set limits that protect your emotional and mental well-being. Emotional independence. You seek companionship out of desire, not need. Better decision-making. You make choices that align with your values and long-term happiness. Step 1. Rebuilding self-worth. If you have experienced toxic relationships, your self-worth may have been damaged. Rebuilding it requires intentional effort and a shift in mindset. Practical exercises. Daily affirmations. Speak positive statements about yourself every morning. I am worthy of love and respect. My happiness does not depend on others. I am enough, just as I am. Journaling for self-worth. Each day, write down 3 things you appreciate about yourself. Reframing negative thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, replace it with, I am constantly growing and learning. Step 2. Engaging in meaningful self-care. Self-care is not just about pampering yourself, it's about nurturing your mind, body, and soul. Self-care practices. Physical. Exercise, eat nutritious foods, and get enough sleep. Emotional. Meditate. Practice deep breathing, and express emotions in a healthy way. Mental. Read books, learn new skills, and challenge negative thoughts. Spiritual. Spend time in nature, pray, or engage in activities that connect you with your inner self. Exercise. Creating a self-care plan. Make a list of self-care activities that bring you peace and commit to doing at least one per day. Step 3. Letting go of external validation. Many people seek approval from others to feel worthy, but true confidence comes from within. How to stop seeking validation. Define your own worth. List your strengths and achievements without tying them to others' opinions. Detach from social media. Reduce time spent comparing yourself to unrealistic standards. Practice self-validation. Before seeking reassurance from others, affirm yourself. Step 4. Embracing independence and personal growth. Healthy relationships are built by two whole individuals, not people who rely on each other for happiness. Developing independence strengthens your ability to thrive on your own. Ways to embrace independence. Set personal goals and work towards them. Take yourself out on solo dates. Learn a new skill or pursue a passion project. Make decisions based on your own needs, not just to please others. Journaling prompts for self-discovery. What makes me feel happiest when I'm alone? What personal goals am I excited to achieve? What fears do I have about being independent, and how can I overcome them? Step 5. Creating a loving, internal dialogue. The way we speak to ourselves matters. Negative self-talk can keep us stuck in cycles of self-doubt, while positive reinforcement helps us grow. Transforming your inner voice. Replace "I always mess up" with "I am learning and improving every day." Swap "I'm not good enough" with "I am worthy, just as I am." Case study. Maya's journey to self-love. Maya had spent years in relationships where she depended on her partners for happiness. After her last breakup, she decided to focus on herself. She started therapy, practiced daily affirmations, and took herself on trips she'd always dreamed of. Over time, she discovered that she didn't need a relationship to feel fulfilled. She had everything she needed within herself. Final thoughts. Becoming your own source of love. Self-love is a journey, not a destination. By practicing self-care, setting boundaries, and embracing independence, you create a life that feels fulfilling, whether or not you are in a relationship. True love begins with you. In the next chapter, we will explore how to recognize red flags early on, ensuring that you enter relationships from a place of strength and confidence. Chapter 6. Recognizing red flags. Early on. One of the most powerful tools in navigating relationships is the ability to identify red flags early on. These are the subtle, or sometimes blatant, warning signs that a relationship may be unhealthy or even toxic. Ignoring these signs can lead to emotional pain, loss of self-worth, and prolonged cycles of suffering. In this chapter, we will explore dating psychology, behavioral patterns to watch for, societal conditioning that influences our relationship choices, and strategies for trusting our intuition when it comes to love. Understanding dating psychology. Why we ignore red flags. Humans are wired for connection, and sometimes our desire to be loved overrides our ability to recognize unhealthy behavior. Several psychological and emotional factors contribute to why we might overlook red flags in relationships. The halo effect. When someone has a few attractive qualities, charm, good looks, success, we may ignore their negative traits. Optimism. Bias. We believe we can change someone, or that things will get better over time. Attachment styles. People with anxious attachment may cling to partners even when mistreated. Past trauma. If we have experienced dysfunctional love in childhood, we may gravitate towards similar patterns in adulthood. Behavioral patterns to watch for. Red flags in dating and relationships. Early warning signs of a toxic relationship. Love bombing, over-the-top affection, gifts, and attention early in the relationship, creating an unrealistic sense of intimacy. Over-control and possessiveness. Wanting constant updates on your whereabouts, controlling who you spend time with, or making you feel guilty for having a life outside the relationship. Gaslighting. Making you doubt your own perceptions, memories, or feelings. Disrespectful humor. Constantly joking about your insecurities, masking criticism as teasing or joking. Lack of consistency. They are kind and loving one day, then cold and distant the next. Disregard for boundaries. Ignoring when you say no, or pushing you beyond your comfort zone. Blaming others for past relationships. If they claim all their exes were crazy or toxic, they may be the common denominator. Trusting your intuition. The power of listening to your gut. Your intuition is your internal warning system. It exists to protect you from harm, yet many people ignore their gut feelings in relationships because they fear being too judgmental or overreacting. Signs. Your intuition is warning you. You feel uneasy or anxious around the person, even if there is no clear reason. You find yourself justifying their bad behavior. You experience physical symptoms, tight chest, stomach discomfort, when thinking about them. Your friends and family notice red flags that you dismiss. Case study. Anna's story. Anna met David through mutual friends. He was charming, attentive, and seemed perfect at first. Within a few weeks, he was texting constantly, wanting to know where she was and who she was with. If she didn't reply quickly, he would accuse her of not caring about him. She dismissed her discomfort, thinking he was just really into her. As time went on, his behavior escalated. He made her feel guilty for spending time with friends, got angry when she disagreed with him, and manipulated her into apologizing even when she wasn't in the wrong. Final thoughts. Choosing love that feels safe and supportive. Red flags exist for a reason. They are early warnings that something may not be right. Ignoring them often leads to heartbreak, emotional exhaustion, and loss of self-worth. By learning to recognize these signs, breaking free from social conditioning, and trusting our intuition, we empower ourselves to make healthier, more fulfilling relationship choices. In the next chapter, we will explore the science behind healthy love, uncovering what makes relationships last and thrive over time. Chapter 7. The Science of Healthy Love. Love is often described as a mystery, a force beyond our understanding. However, science has made incredible progress in decoding what makes love thrive, what causes it to fade, and how we can cultivate long-term, fulfilling relationships. In this chapter, we will explore the neuroscience of love, the role of attachment styles, how early childhood experiences shape our romantic connections, and expert relationship advice for building lasting, healthy love. The neuroscience of love. What happens in our brain? Love is not just an emotion, it's a complex neurochemical process. Researchers have found that falling in love activates areas in the brain associated with reward, motivation, and pleasure, similar to how the brain reacts to addictive substances. Key brain chemicals involved in love include dopamine. Creates feelings of pleasure and reward, making love feel euphoric. Oxytocin. Known as the bonding hormone, it deepens emotional connection and trust. Serotonin plays a role in mood regulation and emotional stability in relationships. Endorphins promote long-term emotional bonding and reduce stress. How attachment styles affect relationships. Psychologists have identified 4 primary attachment styles that influence how we relate to romantic partners. Secure attachment. Individuals feel comfortable with intimacy and independence. Anxious attachment. Craves closeness but fears abandonment. Avoidant attachment. Struggles with emotional intimacy and prefers independence. Fearful avoidant attachment. A mix of anxious and avoidant tendencies, often due to trauma. Understanding your attachment style can help you recognize patterns in your relationships and work towards forming healthier bonds. The impact of early childhood on romantic love. Our earliest experiences with love, how our caregivers treated us, how we were comforted, shape our expectations of relationships. If love was conditional or unstable in childhood, we may carry those beliefs into adulthood. Healing from past wounds involves recognizing these patterns and actively reconditioning our minds to embrace secure, healthy love. How to cultivate long-term happiness in love. Science-backed strategies for a lasting, fulfilling relationship include effective communication. Being open, honest, and empathetic in conversations. Emotional responsiveness. Showing up for your partner emotionally, especially in times of distress. Shared experiences. Engaging in activities that create meaningful memories together. Respect and appreciation. Consistently expressing gratitude and respect for each other. Personal growth. Encouraging each other's individual goals and aspirations. Expert relationship advice for lasting love. Leading relationship experts emphasize the following key principles for lasting love. Dr. John Gottman. Healthy couples have a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative interactions. Dr. Sue Johnson. Emotional safety is the foundation of long-lasting relationships. Esther Perel. Passion in relationships is maintained through autonomy and novelty. Case study: Mark and Olivia's journey to lasting love. Mark and Olivia have been together for 15 years. Instead of letting routine and familiarity erode their connection, they prioritize weekly check-ins, share hobbies, and openly express their needs and desires. By continuously investing in their relationship, they've built a love that is secure, passionate, and fulfilling. Final thoughts. Love as a lifelong journey. Love is not a static state, it is a journey of growth, connection, and deep understanding. By applying the principles of neuroscience, emotional intelligence, and relationship wisdom, we can cultivate love that is healthy, enduring, and truly fulfilling. In the final chapter, we will reflect on breaking the cycle of toxic relationships, embracing self-worth, and stepping into a future where love is no longer a chain, but a choice rooted in freedom.